Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we will be talking about this new batch of polls that we got just from today. Today there have been a lot of new polls released, and almost all of them are extremely strong signs for the Kamala Harris campaign, clearly retaining a lead nationwide, obviously in the popular vote, and almost certainly winning a majority of votes in the Electoral College and thus winning the presidency. This is a theme that we have been seeing throughout this entire race, as Kamala Harris has, of course, been a candidate for president. And that is that she is favored to win, right? Kamala Harris has never let up, since the few days where she was trailing Trump in the popular vote. She has really been able to skyrocket since she has been the Democratic candidate for president, since she announced her candidacy at all. And she has retained her lead, and she is just clearly favored to win. When you look at the electoral map right now, and you're looking at her leads in these polls, and assuming, I honestly think that Harris is being underestimated in many national polls. That is for a lot of different reasons. I've explained that in videos. But even if these polls are exactly correct, definitely not Trump leading, but even if these polls are really spot on, let alone Harris being underestimated, then, she's looking at pretty easily taking Michigan, pretty easily taking Nevada, winning Pennsylvania by a larger margin, or right on where Joe Biden was in 2020, and you're already at 266, and undeniably, according to every single forecast, she is favored to win in Wisconsin. Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina all look extremely close. Georgia and North Carolina look about toss-ups right now, and Arizona looks like it is leaning in Donald Trump's column. But even still, Harris is over 270, and heck, she could, take one of them. She could take North Carolina, she could take Georgia, and then she's at a very big lead with over 300 electoral votes. But the point is, these really true toss-up states where we don't know how they're going to vote, primarily North Carolina and Georgia, even if those are toss-ups, Harris still has a lead with the leaning states, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and these, even with North Carolina and Georgia uncalled, not going to either Trump or Harris, Harris is already over 270, so, she could get them both, and that'd be great for a campaign. She could get one, North Carolina, that'd be great for the campaign, but in the end, she really doesn't even need it. She's already over 270 electoral votes. She is just clearly favored to win. Even if Wisconsin does go to Donald Trump, then she could make that up in North Carolina or Georgia and actually win by even more than if you were to trade it with Wisconsin. So it is clear, it is undeniable when you look at all this data that Kamala Harris is that Kamala Harris is favored to win. You cannot deny that fact right now. And as we get more polling, that is the point. That is the emphasis that this polling is putting on this race. Harris is favored to win. By how much? That is the question. Donald Trump, of course, certainly, obviously, can still win this election, but Harris absolutely does have the upper hand. So let's look at these batch of new polls. The research company shows Kamala Harris with a 4-point lead nationwide. Now, Joe Biden won the popular vote in 2020 by 4.5%. So that would mean that Harris is basically matching Joe Biden's 2020 electoral map. Almost, he would lose Arizona and Georgia if every state did trend 0.5% to the right, since the nation as a whole shifting 0.5% to the right. He would be losing she would be losing Arizona and Georgia. Obviously, every state isn't going to shift exactly to 0.5% to the right, but whatever, just for the purpose. But you get the idea. She would basically be matching Joe Biden's 2020 map. That would sound, insane, if you told someone that when Harris announced her candidacy, when she was at a much worse position than she is right now. Now, moving down, we have even more polling. TIPP, this is an A+ rated pollster, shows Harris with a 3-point lead nationwide. Now, that is very much a toss-up election, I feel. Yes, she's winning the popular vote, but for Democrats to win the Electoral College, they have to win by somewhere around 2.5 to 3% at least. So it does fall within that range of uncertainty. But still, probably still Harris with the upper hand there. She is at least winning the popular vote. And then we have this really shock poll from, oh, will it show it? Yeah, here we go. From RGM Research. Now, this one is interesting. I'm not sure what their rating is. It's not one of the best of the best. But they are pretty reputable. And they have, wait. Sorry, this showed something, yeah, sorry. This showed something different. But as you can see, I'll just, talk about it while I have it. Donald Trump clearly favored in Arizona. The majority of polls do show him leading in Arizona, but a good chunk of the polls did show him leading in Arizona in 2020. That was a surprise flip that actually did go to Joe Biden. And then you have Big Village. Big Village, not one of the best pollsters either, but still Harris winning by 4%. These are some of the new polls that we have today. And, you know, again, it's absolutely undeniable that Harris does have the upper hand in this election. Here's the broader picture of the TIPP research poll. Harris in the two-way has a 3-point lead, and including RFK Jr., who dropped out, he is only at 2%, but still Harris retains her lead of 3%. And look, she has kept her lead. This is the thing. This is the important fact. Kamala Harris is not, you know, her support is not fluctuating too much, and it just, you know, adds an emphasis on how partisan we are during these times. You know, after the debate, after the DNC, after, well, the RNC doesn't count since Biden was still in the race then. But after all of these events, you know, you even include the assassination attempt on Trump, you can even include his conviction. The race has not moved all that much. In August, Harris was ahead by 1. So she announced her candidacy on late July, so this was right in the beginning stages of her candidacy. And then she increased her lead in September to 3%. And then now, October, in this TIPP research, she has retained her lead from September plus 3%. I don't think that she is really getting too much above 4%, just considering how partisan we are as a nation right now. So this is really the best that she can hope for right now. And again, polls like this are extremely favorable. If Kamala Harris is just falling under the 4.5% that Joe Biden won the popular vote by in 2020, which I think will be the result. I do think that she will almost win by 4.5%, but just not quite there. I think it'll be somewhere around 4%. Then, of course, that is going to be a win for her. Of course, she's keeping, you know, virtually all of the states that Joe Biden won in the 2020 election. Wisconsin, well, I'll just keep the margins, I guess. Arizona would absolutely be tilt in that case. Georgia would absolutely be tilt. North Carolina is actually a flip. So what's an interesting dynamic this election is that Kamala Harris can actually win the popular vote by less than Joe Biden did in the 2020 election. By the way, this is the 2020 election map, what you're looking at. So she can actually win by less than the 4.5 in the popular vote that Biden won by in the last election, but actually win more electoral college votes than Joe Biden did. And you're wondering how? Well, of course, not every state. You know, if the popular vote as a whole is shifting, whatever, a point, half a point towards the Republicans this year, that doesn't necessarily mean that every state is going to trend that same exact amount. So that means that while she may suffer losses in, say, Florida, whatever, Ohio, for example, and then across the board in these rural states, Montana, whatever, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, these smaller states, while she loses ground there, she can actually make up ground in some of the swing states, and even though it wouldn't result in a bigger margin in the Electoral College than Joe Biden in 2020, despite that fact, if, you know, it happens in the right states where they actually trend left instead of right, then she could flip states and win, again, by a larger margin than the 306 electoral votes that Biden won by in 2020. So what would some of these states be? Well, there's primarily one, that being North Carolina. North Carolina, this looks like the only one that has a real good shot of Harris winning there. You know, so this was one that only voted for Trump by 1.3% in the last election. And, you know, if Harris is, you know, suffering a half a point loss in the popular vote nationwide, that, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that she is going to lose ground in North Carolina from 2020. She could very easily gain some ground there. So just for example, you can see here, this is the trend map from 2016 to 2020. So as you can see, the nation as a whole trended pretty much, you know, leftward, right? In the popular vote, what, Hillary won the popular vote by something like 2.5%. Biden won it by 4.5%. So that's a 2-point trend nationwide. So whatever, you see states like Texas became more Democratic, whatever, across the board. Indiana, Kentucky became 4 points more Democratic, Virginia became 5 points more, and then the New England states as well. But, of course, that doesn't go for every state. It's not going to be the same margin in every state. Florida became 2.2% more Republican. Arkansas became 0.7 more. California became a point more Republican. Utah became 2.4 points more Republican. So, you know, this situation with, becoming more Republican in terms of popular vote, that doesn't necessarily mean that it will be the exact same map as 2020, especially because North Carolina is a trending left state, and you've got Mark Robinson on the ballot, the scandal-ridden Republican candidate for governor, who the Harris campaign is now running ads linking him with Donald Trump. That's just how, scandalous and unpopular this man is. They're literally linking the presidential Republican candidate to him. So Mark Robinson could absolutely weigh down Donald Trump in North Carolina as well. So thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe down below. That absolutely helps out a lot. This is not a prediction map, by the way. This is my prediction as of now for the record, a very close election. But again, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.